Do you feel like you're stagnating in your English? You're not progressing, and whatever practice you're doing, you feel like your English is just gitu-gitu aja? It could be that you're finding yourself stuck in the intermediate plateau. So the intermediate plateau is a stage in your language learning journey when you're just stuck in the intermediate level and progressing very, very slowly, if not at all. So at this level, you have the basic foundation. You can say a few basic words, a few basic phrases, but you're not quite fluent yet. Or maybe at this stage, you tell your friends that you understand English, but when comes a time that you're actually listening to native speakers speak in full speed or at normal speed, you barely understand anything. In this new year, you're determined to bring your English to your next level. It's going to be different this time. But is it though? Truth is, it's going to stay the same if you keep doing the same thing, if you do not change your strategy. And in this video, I can help you with that. So stay till the end, or if you're not patient enough, you can click the link right here. So let's talk about why you're not progressing. So at the beginning stage, it's very likely that you feel like you're progressing very fast. So from knowing 0 English to learning 10 new words a day, or from knowing nothing at all to learning about the future tense, the present tense, the past tense. So everything feels like a big achievement. At this stage, learning new things is quite easy. But once you're at the intermediate level, learning 10 new words just doesn't seem to make that much of a difference to you. As you learn more, your progress slows down naturally, and you often find yourself feeling discouraged for your slow progress. These are some common problems at the intermediate plateau. But the thing that you need to know is the strategy that you followed as a beginner and the strategy that you need to follow as an intermediate going to an advanced level are really different. So if you keep on doing the same thing now as what you did when you were a beginner, it's not gonna cut it. You're gonna have to change your strategy. And here is where I can help you with the Naila 3M framework, and that is your mindset, method, and materials. So first, let's talk about mindset. You need to have the right mindset. And having the right mindset has everything to do with putting English as one of your top priorities in life, at least right now. So this means putting English learning above your other not as important things in life right now, or in other words, you have to consciously make the choice to put English as a top priority. So that is your first mindset shift. So second mindset shift is going to make a huge difference. You have to stop thinking of yourself as an English learner, but now you have to think of yourself as an English user. So this doesn't mean that you stop to learn English, but you are now also a user of English. Now, this means that you use English as a part of your daily life. You no longer view English from the outside, but now English has become a part of your life. So this is a change, a shift that you need to adopt at this stage. Third mindset shift is that you have to adopt a growth mindset. So growth mindset is basically a belief that English, just like any other skills, you could build them with the right amount of practice, effort, consistency, persistence, and patience. Other circumstances that are beyond your control on why you cannot speak English, like your age, you feel like you're too old, or where you are living in the world right now. You do not live in an English-speaking country, so you cannot be good at English, or not having a knack for languages. You're just not talented. You were not born with the talent to learn languages. So these are all limiting beliefs, or they could also be called fixed mindset, that are keeping you stuck in this plateau. All of these beliefs, you just need to get rid of them as soon as possible. And the fourth mindset shift, you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. So it's no secret that in order to progress anything in life, you just have to get out of the comfort zone. The reason why you're stuck in this plateau is because you stop challenging yourself, you stop learning. So for instance, if you're quite comfortable with listening to native English, then you're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone and start practicing your speaking skills. It's going to be uncomfortable because at this stage, you're kind of faced with your weaknesses, you know? So the thing is, this is a necessary challenge that you need to take on to progress. You have to be willing to get out. Of course, mindset itself is just the first step. Just like any other thing in life, if you have the right mindset, but your mindset is not coupled with action, then it just leads you nowhere. Sama aja bohong. Which brings me to the second M, and that is method. Your method also needs to be right. So there are two approaches to learning a language: explicit and implicit learning. So explicit learning is the way we learn in the classroom. So through formal instructions, students learn consciously about the language. You deliberately study the language. Implicit learning is how children and babies learn the language. They learn it naturally, subconsciously, through immersion, through their environment, and they slowly pick up the language because they're exposed to it so much. So, which of these is actually better to learn a language? You probably think I'm gonna say the implicit one, right? But the truth is, each approach has its own pros and cons. Explicit learning by itself is quite boring, and as you can see, it's quite ineffective in the long run by itself. I have not yet met a subscriber, and I've talked to quite some subscribers, who told me that they learn English from their classrooms, from school. For some reason, the way languages are taught in the classroom, it just doesn't stick here. However, the good thing about explicit learning is that it's active. You're actively learning it. It forces you to study, it forces you to notice the language, to learn the language. And when you're actively learning the language, you use your cognitive abilities to dissect pattern of the language. And when done right, you can actually use this to speed up your learning process if coupled by massive exposure. Implicit learning is a more fun way to learn. It's passive, it's effortless, and you learn it implicitly through, let's say, watching a lot of TV shows and movies, and then just kind of like let your brain pick up the patterns. The problem with this way of learning is that it is slow. If you think about it, children, babies, they need about 5 to 6 years to be able to string their first sentences, right? And you don't want to wait that long to be able to learn English. If you've given yourself massive exposure to English, but you are not really open to really learning the English deliberately, it's going to be a slow progress for you to reach a level where you're happy with your English. So the right method needs to combine both of these learning approaches. So you need to get the massive exposure and kind of like let your brain kind of pick up the patterns, but you also need to have the deliberate studying to speed up the process. I've talked about this in this video before, it's in Bahasa Indonesia, so feel free to check it out. And of course, the exercises, the kind of studying that you do during the deliberate study time also matters. Are you challenging yourself enough? Are you always teaching yourself new grammar rules, or are you always feeding your brain with new useless words that you're never going to use? And also, the most important thing, what kind of learning materials do you use to expose yourself and you use to study? Because the resources, the materials that you use also matter a lot, which brings me to the last M, which is materials. So materials is basically content, but I just call it materials so that the whole 3M thing would work. But basically, it's content. So are you exposing yourself to English learning materials, content that you can immediately use in your day-to-day life? Are you using real, native, authentic English content or awkward textbooks that you get from school? All of these are important things to take into account. And one thing to remember is that your output will match your input. So depending on what you would like to be fluent in English, your input needs to match that. If you want to speak like a native, then you consume as much native content as much as possible. If you want to speak like a news anchor for your journalism job, then you have to watch a lot of news. Or maybe you want to start writing academic papers, then you better read a lot of academic scientific articles online. Or if you just want to speak daily normal English, then you better consume a lot of English content that shows a lot of natives in daily settings, like daily English. So you get the point. What you put in, you put out. Also, the right materials for you to get exposed to and to learn need to be two things. First, it needs to be above your level. Content above your level means that it's a piece of content that you understand the overall message, but you don't quite get how that message is being said. By having this gap, it gives you a lot of opportunity to learn. First, you understand the message, what is being said, and then you break down the language, how it is being said. Second, it needs to be fun and relevant to your life. So the right kind of materials will make you want to learn more. So it's important to make it fun, make it interesting to you. If you in your life, you're very interested in football, then make sure that you find content, you find videos or documentaries about, I don't know, Ronaldo or Messi, in English, of course. And then you use that to learn English. And by relevant, I mean that it's relevant to your life. For instance, right now, let's say you are dealing with some problems in your life, like some financial problems or some love problems. So find English content that solve these problems. How do you save up with not so high salary? Why is my crush not texting me back? Also, this strategy pushes you to be an English user. Try to solve your problems, let's say they're not as urgent, using English. This way, you make it relevant to your life, and whatever you learn from these pieces of content, you will remember better because it's relevant. One thing to note, the right type of materials for every person could differ slightly because every person has their own specific needs. So the right materials need to be customized for you. So having these pieces individually is a good start, but it becomes powerful if they all work together. When you're using the right method and adopt the right mindset to learn, but you don't use the right materials, you're only going to waste your time learning unusable English. English that you cannot apply to your day-to-day, to your specific needs. When you have the right method and materials, but you don't have the right mindset, you're going to be inconsistent in your effort. This is what you call belajar mut-mutan. When you have the right materials, adopt the right mindset, but you don't use the right method, you won't see much progress. You're not working on the specific skills that you need. So again, it's not enough to master them individually. It's a good start, but eventually you want all of these to work together. You need to have all of the three pieces to really see progress in your English. So if you're interested in learning more about this framework and how I can help you, I'm actually working on a free training right now, but it's not done yet. So if you are interested to learn more, you guys can click the link right here or in the description box or comment to put your email. So once the free training is finished, I can notify you via email. Also, I'm working on a premium coaching program that is hopefully going to launch in February. And if you're interested in that too, make sure you put that email in the same link. So that is it for this week, guys. I hope you learned something new from my video that you can immediately apply in your life. So good luck, and I will see you next week in another video. Bye-bye.